And then with the delineation of who's in the best role, so the county can say, well, you know, we aren't the lead person for business attraction, it's so-and-so, if it's NCPA, whoever it is. You know, I think that we're dealing with a lot of frustrations at the local level. They really emanate from a much bigger economic catastrophe that we're all, you know, part of. And I think that that's sort of what's applicable to the Harwood, as an example, we've talked about the Harwood Mill situation. I mean, the reality of it is that it wasn't a business venture that was viable given the price of fertile. And that's like that's a local scenario, but it's also an international one. So unless you have someone that would be in the role of a benefactor, if you will, for a period of time, or very, very lenient financing, it wasn't something, as you were saying, Allison, that, you know, the private sector had looked at it. If it was a viable business venture, it would have already been solved. So it's sort of a curious thing that, and I know Supervisor Finch has spent a lot of time on it, as did our executive office, and that's commendable, and we stepped up because we saw a problem. I think that's great. But the reality is it's a private sector issue that was sort of saddled with the private sector solution. I mean, there wasn't federal money or you know, out there that we failed to obtain to fix this private sector problem. So I think it's a little bit more complicated, that we can't just really send it down to 3 specific levels, because the county really needs to be involved, probably to some degree or another, on all of these issues that you've outlined, and probably others that are not here. So I think what we need is more of a flow chart of who's the most appropriate agency to be dealing with it, how can we narrow the county focus, and assign appropriate staff to do that in appropriate departments. You know, one thing that comes to mind that took a number of years is the acquisition of the Redwood Forest Foundation. They worked for 3 years, not in a crisis mode, maybe an impending one, but not specifically a crisis mode, to figure out the private sector financing to obtain that acquisition, and that was acquired through Bank of America. But it was only through the leniency of that financing that they were able to do it, so you can have sustainable timber production on a large tract of land and save that from being probably eventually subdivided. So that solution set is a difficult one, because and I'm now on the board of directors of the Redwood Forest Foundation, and it's saddled with huge financial responsibilities going forward, given the current economic, scenario that we're in. But you needed another parallel track to that to grab the Harwood Mill and say we can apply that sort of that economic deviation, if you will, from strict corporate financing models to save the Harwood Mill. And if that wasn't there, I mean, it just wasn't there. I mean, it's very unfortunate, but you really needed long-term vision, which is not what we've had historically from the timber industry in this county. We haven't had it in a number of other sectors either. The viability of something for the long run, for the sustainability, our entire culture isn't designed around sustainability and a long-term economic viability of a business or a community. So until we get that discussion going, I don't know that we're going to solve all of these issues on the laundry list that you have, but I still think it's good to have them, and we need to continue this discussion. We need to fine-tune who are the roles, and getting the partners to step up and say, yeah, we agree, EDFC is the appropriate lead person, if you will, for a particular strategy here. Maybe we need to define it as a lead person, the backup people, and for our part of the partnership, what is the role that the county is going to play in each of these things, and more delineate it more clearly.
I guess I have a couple comments before we kind of wrap this up. This is a laundry list. Each one of these items are good tactics. We don't have a force large enough to attack and implement each of these tactics. A year ago, and I remind this board, a year ago, we had a 2-day goal-setting strategy meeting to establish how we were going to move into the future. And it failed at the end of the first day. There was no support to even have the second day. We've gone through this entire year without goals to rate our performance, rate the CEO's performance. And I'm with Johnny. We all ought to be unemployed. That's one of the frustrations I have, and one of the reasons why I did not run for re-election. We've done a damn good job of filling the room full of tire smoke and not moving the vehicle 1 inch. And I am very embarrassed. If we can do nothing more than to establish 4 or 5 of these things to attack off of this laundry list, I think we will have achieved something. I certainly agree with item E, item F and G. We must complete J. It's been too many years in the workings. And then maybe even to enhance item I, to identify businesses and things that we can actually reach out and support maybe financially in the long term with grants or whatever we come up with. So, I would go